A little bit about me. This is a QR code just to my LinkedIn page. I like to start with about me so you have a sense of the lens that I'm coming from and my perspective. I
Okay,
am, huh?
1 second and YouTube. There we go. Now we got it on. I was waiting for YouTube to start. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. And so just a little bit about me and the lens and my perspective. I am a native from Tucson, Arizona. I have worked in healthcare for the last 6 years doing physical therapy. The oldest patient I've ever treated is 104, and the youngest is 3. So I've had exposure to the lifespan, and I think it's just a unique way and an ability to look at life. During COVID, I realized I could not do physical therapy into retirement years. It is very, very difficult on the body, hard on the body. And so I went back to school. I earned a couple of master's degrees, one in applied leadership and management, and the other in blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. This exposed me to the fourth industrial revolution. So all kind of emerging tech, AI, NFTs, crypto, blockchain. And it's just kind of been this roller coaster ride of me running down a rabbit hole, kind of chasing knowledge. Outside of healthcare, I work at MIA, which is my background. And MIA's mission is to upskill 1 million non technical women plus allies with the skills of the future. So with AI. And then outside of that, I have 2 kiddos that I've adopted. I really shouldn't say kiddos. One is 26 and the other is 11.
That's
I
not good.
really I really enjoy being outside. I really love to travel, explore new cultures. And so, yeah, I'm excited to be here today and talk about this topic. So please feel free to, um, have questions in the chat and let's get going. We're at music. I did Gamma because Gamma is sponsoring National Black AI Literacy Week. So it's such a great AI tool to use if you haven't used it yet. So I would like to introduce you to my beautiful son, Bishop. Bishop, I adopted him when he was 2 days old. He graduated this past Monday from elementary school. At the end of the culmination, they had all of the students stand up and then they read, they said, like, Sarah Smith, she wants to be an archaeologist. And then she walked off stage. So when Bishop stood up, they're like, Bishop Carter, scientist, and then he walked off the stage, and I thought to myself, that's so cool. He wants to be a scientist. He hasn't said that to me, so I was kind of surprised. And when I met him outside, I'm like, oh, a scientist, that's so neat, Bishop. Like, where's that coming from? And he's like, oh, well, they told me I couldn't be a basketball player because it's not realistic, and so I picked scientist. And I literally internally got so angry because who the hell are they to say what you can and can't be and what this future is going to look like, right? So this future could literally have an AI basketball team that's international and somebody gets paid lucratively to play online as a basketball player. And so I just think it's unfair to say to somebody what you can and can't be when this future that we're walking into is not even decided. So I just want to kind of spark that imagination because the idea of what your job is right now might change. And so start dreaming about what you would like it to be because you could create it. And he's just the cutest thing ever. All right, so what will the future look like? We don't know. What we do know for sure is that it is shifting and it is not stagnant and we have to be prepared. That's all I can tell you is that we need to be prepared. And so all of you here today, you are on the right track. And I hope that you invite your friends on this journey with you and with us. So how are we coming up with this kind of data and these stats? According to Goldman and Sachs, generative AI tools like ChatGPT, Gamma, etc., have the potential to significantly disrupt labor markets by automating up to 300 million jobs globally in the next coming years. So when we say 300 million jobs, that means loss, that the potential of those jobs to be lost. And who are those people that are working in those 300 million jobs? They are people that look like you and me. They are people of color and they are women. We are the ones that are going to be the most heavily impacted by this future wave of technology. That said, it is a great opportunity. Now, Dave, you're here. So this is great. We're going to talk about the entertainment industry because I think that when we say the future, we're thinking 5 years, 10 years, but the entertainment industry is being hit hard, and it's being hit hard now. And this is a great example. So you might not work in entertainment, but if you're working in another industry, you can look at entertainment industry and say, okay, this is what's happening there. This could potentially happen in my industry as well. So a couple of stats. McKinsey estimates AI could automate up to 45% of current work activities in media industry, including content creation, editing, and post-production. I was just in Canada yesterday, and I know that a lot of our movies that are filmed in Hollywood really take place around the world because of cost. It's cheaper to film in other locations. So it's not just impacting like Hollywood, right? If there's a major budget movie and they take over a town in Canada, that brings a lot of money and jobs into Canada. And that is changing too. So it's not just our Hollywood actors and the cast there, but it's also the towns that get filmed in. In Tucson, Arizona, we get a lot of Westerns. People come all the time for Westerns, but it's not necessarily needed anymore because you can do things with these new digital tools. During 2023 Hollywood strikes, that was a big deal. They got hit hard with COVID, and now they're getting hit hard with AI. 17% of Los Angeles-based entertainment workers have lost their job, about 25,000 job loss. And when I'm on TikTok and I'm seeing people posting, there are individuals that have worked in this industry for 20 plus years and literally can't find work. And that's their skill set. That's what they know to do. And so how do you pivot out of that? Nationwide, same study estimates that 204,000 entertainment jobs will be impacted by AI adoption over the next 3 years. And then about 2026, 1/3 of survey respondents predict that over 20% of all entertainment jobs, which translates to 120,000 positions roughly, could be cut due to AI. So we throw these numbers up there, and when it's just a number, it can kind of just, that looks like a large number, but each number is a person. And I watch industries all the time. If you're on LinkedIn, you'll see people posting they just got laid off, then they find a job, but then they just got laid off, or they're looking, and the job market out there is so tough. And so it's hard out there. And I think the best thing that we can do is to prepare. And so, Dave, do you have any insights? Because you're more, I think, music side. Music side is going to be heavily impacted as well. Anything you want to add there?
Well, I think you covered it quite a bit, and I'll cover it some more on my session tomorrow. But yeah, the industry is going through an upheaval because of AI, but a lot of people are affected. And unfortunately, for most of us in the entertainment business, me being on the radio side, a lot of people only know how to do that one thing. And so with AI replacing them, they do find themselves out of work, and it's hard to find a job. I mean, I'm in that category. I've been out of the game for 5 years, not necessarily because of AI, but because of COVID. And when the radio stations stopped getting advertising because people weren't going out to eat, they weren't going out to clubs, the companies found out that why do we have to have all these full-time people? We can
Yeah.
just we can voice track, but not only voice track, but instead of it taking 4 hours, they can get it done in 2 hours. And so it just dismantled everything. So we need to be learning other revenue streams, and we all of us need to be on this AI thing because it's all about that. And speaking about your son, that's unfortunate they said that because you're 100% correct. There are colleges that are offering scholarships in that field, so they're
Yeah.
they're a little out of touch.
Yeah. Oh, it really upset me. I was thinking about it for way too long. That's why I was like that. And then it worked out perfectly to kind of just segue into what we're talking about today, because the reality is we don't know what this future is going to look like. And like the kiddo could end up in the NBA. Like, who the hell are you to say that he couldn't?
Yeah.
So all that to say, I work in healthcare, right? And in healthcare, it is impacting healthcare as well. Recently there was an AI nurse released, and the AI nurse is like a digital kind of robot or a tablet, but from the company side, it costs $9 per hour to have an AI nurse versus the 46 or $50 nurse. So does that mean that we can replace all nurses with AI nurses? Absolutely not. But do I now need 50 nurses on my staff? The reality is no. And so it's not that every single position will be eliminated. It's just that organizations are going to shift, and just always know that companies will always protect their bottom line. first. Like, we don't matter. And so I hope that you invest in yourself. And a lot of companies do have educational dollars, and I think that we are not good at taking that opportunity to use them. So go ask them, do you have educational funding? And then see if you can find an AI course related to that job, because it is another way to kind of have job security, so that you could be the ones that does remain on as they kind of restructure things. Yeah, I didn't think necessarily it would come for healthcare. So from PT side, I don't think that the type of work that we do could be replaced in that way. However, AR tools are being implemented. So I work with a lot of amputee patients. There are amazing, amazing, amazing AI prosthetics coming out that will really enhance the quality of life of individuals. From the administrative side, the operational side of healthcare, there are AI widgets sitting on top of electronic medical records. So the documentation side of healthcare is absolutely going to change, which is a great thing, because we waste so much money on the administrative side of healthcare. So there's pros and cons. And just as another example, in keeping it entertainment, Tyler Perry has halted his plan. In Atlanta, he was building an $800 million expansion of his studios, but he saw Sora released and he immediately halted his plans to continue to build that studio, because what is the need of having this massive studio when I can use an AI tool and create amazing, phenomenal videos out of it? China's coming right after Sora, and the quality of those videos, it is hard to distinguish what is real and what is not. And I really think that we look at the pro side, or the ability to create new things. Like, the minds can go many places now with these tools. So we'll see new imagery, new movie concepts that couldn't have been done before, and I think that's exciting. But the amount of humans needed to produce this work is significantly decreasing. All right, so overrepresentation in high-risk occupations. The first wave is going to be automation. And we, people of color and women, we work in automated, we're very vulnerable to this. Disparities, 24% of Black workers are in high-risk jobs versus 20% of whites. Again, those numbers are still both high, I think, for whites as well. And then the financial instability, this raises concern about our wealth gap. We already know there's a ginormous wealth gap, and it's just going to widen. And so what are we going to do about it is the question. I don't know about you, but I really feel that Black people happen to be the most resilient and innovative people on the planet. I'm obviously a little bit biased, but I think with significant changes comes opportunity for innovation. The barriers to entry have never been so low, so there's a great opportunity for all of us to partake in this new kind of global economy. Disruption, it's important to have knowledge of work. So Gen AI has greater automation potential. I think even in industries like Amazon or a FedEx, all of those workers, most of them will be replaced by robots that will do the work and automate it. This could disrupt upward mobility. So where we would typically see Black individuals, like we start at one level and we're working up the corporate chain, that's no longer going to necessarily happen. And then this wealth gap, it could widen it by $43 billion. That is alarming and should be ringing lots of bells for all of us. So typically the white household median net worth income is $285,000, while the net worth for a Black household is only $49,000, which is already so drastic. And I mean, just looking at people right now and looking at our when I was in Canada, this was a big topic, but looking at how individuals are having to have a full-time job, a part-time job, also be parents. It is rough. It's really hard out there. And it's not going to necessarily get any easier. I think I just saw yesterday that they're holding the interest rate at the same percentage. So we are in this ride for a little bit longer. Who knows how long. So is your job at risk? I'm really curious, just all of us here, if you feel that your job is at risk. If not your job, somebody you know's job, is their job at risk? Right off the top, really easy ones to kind of go quickly will be administrative assistance, customer service. We already know that there's the hold on, I'm letting somebody in, like the bots when we call a line, right? That already exists. That's just going to widen and increase. Data entry clerks, paralegals, bookkeeping, receptionists, loan officers, computer support specialists, telemarketers, financial clerks. I think really anybody in marketing at all, like even engineers, like there's not one position that is necessarily safe. There are now AI tools that can program, that can do engineering work. Does that mean that we can't have engineers? No, we need somebody to be looking at the output, but we don't need as many. And so that is that's the key. What are the negative impacts? And how do we mitigate them? So it is important to realize that diverse perspectives are essential when these tools are being developed. Of course, they're not really being developed by people that look like us. So we need to be interacting with the tools. We need to be building our own tools. And when I say interacting, I literally just mean you open up ChatGPT and you're asking it for whatever you use that tool for. When it comes back with something inappropriate or something that doesn't align with your values or what maybe culturally our values are, you correct it, because we are training these tools. That's one way. Reskilling and upskilling is also very important. Prioritizing training programs for individuals like us that are in high-risk fields. Again, at MIA, our mission is to upskill 1 million women, and it's really just exposing people to AI and giving them education on what hallucinations are and tokens are and these new kind of terms. And then AI education, investing in mentorship and AI education opportunities for individuals like us. I think it would be lovely to have HBCUs come on board, educating communities. When I think about, so just as an example for why it's important in healthcare, the diverse perspectives. If there's an AI tool that screens cancer, one came out the other day, and we line up every single shade of human. And the data that tool was built on doesn't represent the beautiful dark chocolates of Sudanese individuals or even albino individuals. And they have skin cancer. It would miss detecting their skin cancer. And so there's real harm that could come with not having diverse training sets, as well as women. Like if it's only trained on data for men, it's going to maybe miss things that are on my body because it's not used to seeing like the shape of a woman's body. It might even not recognize me as a human. And so that is some of the negative impacts that can take place. Yeah, there's lots of free training courses out there. Yesterday I was on a panel in Calgary in Canada, and it was on upskilling, and we were talking about how do we get people wanting to upskill or even be interested in learning. And it's an interesting question. Does it need to come from the government, like a top-down approach, like, hey, government, you need to, or from the government's perspective, everybody, we need you to kind of go back, learn these new sets of skills. In Singapore is doing, I think, an amazing job. They are offering anybody over the age of 40 free money, the opportunity to go back in school and learn AI. They also just formed a bridge program with the United States where it's Singapore, the country, will be working with the US and heavily investing in artificial intelligence. So they're looking at this as a country, like we need to invest in our workforce. And I feel like America invests in businesses. They don't care about humans. Yeah, Singapore is doing a great job, and they're specifically targeting women. So Teresa, if you want to maybe do some type of bridge program with Singapore, I know I'm going to look into it. I haven't had an opportunity yet, but I would love to work with that country. Prioritizing and reskilling. I think one of the things that we really need to think about is human touch. We can't use that human touch in critical thinking. So Google has developed a tool called Alpha Alpha 2, and right now it is passing the national board exam for doctors at an 85% rate. That's right now. At some point, it's going to pass the board exam for a doctor, and probably in a few seconds, right? Compared to however long they have to take that test. I think that's amazing. But in healthcare, there are already there's lots of mistrust within our community in healthcare. And so I think it is important, thank you, Talisha, for dropping that. I think it's important that if a doctor is utilizing a healthcare related tool, that they are then looking at, okay, what is it saying that this patient could have? And then using their own real life experience and being a critical thinker, and then approaching the patient. You can't just rely on the tool. The tool doesn't know everything. Again, creativity. These tools allow us to be so creative. It's so exciting. Get your young ones involved in making up a comic book story, or however you guys would like to use it. But creativity is an awesome way. Data literacy is also extremely important for us to enhance our skills in analyzing data, and then being able to recognize, wait, something is wrong with this. Stefan, during opening night, he used ChatGPT to write a story, and it was a great example. He used ChatGPT to write a story about a little boy and a dog and bullying, and it within seconds came out with a great story about Johnny and his dog, Lucky, and how he was bullied. And then he changed one word, and it was now a little black boy. Write a story about a little black boy with a dog and bullying. And now Johnny became Jamal, and he had a pit bull. And I feel like there was some gang element related. Like, this is just the stereotype, the data that's been fed into it. There's no reason that Jamal couldn't have had a Labradoodle. Like, he literally could be allergic to dogs and have, a specialized, very expensive dog. So this is when we challenge the output, and knowing that it's biased, just like we all are. And it's just, we have to recognize it. I think it's also really important to realize that in ChatGPT with a little dog story, there's no harm necessarily done, right? But in healthcare, real harm can be done. In the weapons industry, real harm is being done right now as we're talking. And so AI is in every single industry, and real harm can be done. And so it's important for us to understand that these decisions are just being made off of data points. And if the data points aren't clean and aren't good, then we're going to get the bad outcomes and the bias that we're already seeing. If we think about using AI tools to determine how long you serve in jail for a crime, I read a study. The crime was exactly the same. The stats were exactly the same. Like, white male, black man, same age, same crime. For the white male, the system recommended a mental institution, and for the black male, it recommended prison. And so if we're using these tools to make real life-changing decisions, it's extremely important that we have the critical thinking and the ability to challenge what's being said. And then ethical AI, understanding the development and the responsibility of ethical AI. We are in the Wild West. I'm sure maybe in some of our other sessions, people have said this. Laws and regulations are not going to catch up. It's going to be, I think, in hindsight, somebody will get hurt, and then we'll create a law to protect us afterwards. And so making sure that we're being ethical with these tools and development. And so if you're seeing a company developing a tool, challenge that company, write in, maybe contact your representative in your state, because there really could be harm that comes with this. Why chat? Yeah, I agree. Chat back to you. The announcement party is in a few weeks, yeah? Because I'm signed up. Latimer is also a great one. And you used it on opening night, and that story that it came up with the little boy did warm my heart. And then promoting equitable access. So we need affordable education. Obviously, this is a great example because we've come together to educate our community on what is AI in many different ways. Like, everybody's doing a different session. It's been so exciting to see. I jump online. When I was in Canada, I was jumping online when I could. And it warmed my heart to see so many people involved and engaged. Partnerships, again, collaborating with institutions and communities like HBCUs. If your organization is, get them involved. Why not? You know, I work in a skilled nursing facility sometimes. I also work in home health. And so I want them looking at these tools and solutions because I don't want them to be a late adopter. And then early STEM exposure. So this is also very important to our little kiddos, exposing them to STEM. Let's get them involved on the like the data science side. Let's get them involved in the coding side, so that these algorithms can be more transparent and more representative of us as a people. Always advocate for bias mitigation. So companies should be implementing rigorous testing and strategies. I'm sure it's been brought up over this week about Google buying Reddit's information. Oh, Janet's here. Hi, Janet. She's calling in from UK. Google purchased Reddit's information for $60 million, right? And it's been kind of the output that people are getting is recommending to put glue on pizza and like craziness. I know that a lot of Americans use Google for healthcare information, me as well, right? Like if I'm like, I don't know what this thing is, let me search Google first. If we are getting wild responses because it's inputted Reddit's data, it really could be harming and unsafe. And so that's, I think, a great use case of why we have to be very, very careful and be testing and implementing strategies to make sure that these tools are safe. Companies need to have ethical guidelines. So along with all of the things that I do, I'm also a 2030 Global Fellow. It's a volunteer position. People from around the world, from various industries have come together and we are building a framework for responsible AI. And it's literally like a working Google Doc and people are coming together and adding to it, adding our voice, adding our perspective. And the idea is we're creating a framework that we can then give to companies. Like if you're going to deploy AI, here's a framework to keep it responsible and ethical and transparent. We as end consumers should know when we are utilizing AI tools. We should know when we, the end consumer, are looking at something that's not real, that's not a human, that maybe even the script is not real. We should know that that's AI. Right now, there's no law stating that that has to be the case. And as I was in the deepfake course yesterday, it's so close that it's hard to distinguish. And many people, when you do a search, it's like a Google search, most people believe what comes up. Statistically, it's proven that when we search something and we see a link, we think that's factual, and that's not necessarily the case. And we don't really have the time and discernment to go back and do research. We just take that as face value. So it's important that we have diverse perspectives and then ethical guidelines aligned with us. Oh my goodness, we are at the top of the hour and check me out. I'm at the conclusion. I love it. All right. So in short, everyone, we don't know what this future of work is going to look like. I can promise you job disruption and displacement is going to happen. I promise you it's going to happen. It's going to happen sooner rather than later. With that said, new roles are going to be created. If you haven't just done a job, if you're not even looking for a job, do a job search on LinkedIn and type in AI jobs and just see what's coming up. It's pretty wild at the jobs that are already there. They're pretty well paid as well. And so there's not an expert really in this area. So I really feel like we all have an opportunity to become that expert, and then prioritizing reskilling and upskilling. That's going to be the way to kind of make it out of this crazy world. And I want you all to partake. So I post all the time on like my social media. My friends aren't even worried about it yet, but I know when they become worried or they're curious, then they know that they have a person to come and ask questions to. So I can't force, you can't, you know, you can drag that horse to water, but you can't make it drink. I think that's really true. Sometimes we can be our biggest barriers of getting in the way of our path forward. But all of us sitting here, I know that that's not the case. And so just open yourself to being curious, prioritizing reskilling and upskilling. And I feel like then you're on the right track, because you never know when an organization is going to shift. You might lose your job, but you'll stay competitive in this ever-changing, crazy, crazy job market. And I'm sure many of you can attest that it's wild out there. It's super wild. If you have any questions, please feel free to come off the mic. I'd love to talk about it. Thank you so much, Patty.
Okay, Patty got it. Okay, there you go. Patty, you there?
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
here. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I know we're running at the top of the hour. The next group's supposed to start. Um, Kate, you put everything where people can contact you down in the chat?
I can, absolutely.
Would be great.
Kate, those were some really great insights about the skin and AI looking and not really recognizing what it's seeing. I had not thought of that. That
Yeah.
is wonderful.
Yeah, that's a real thing. So just so you know, when autonomous driving vehicles first came out, it was programmed, right? It's a car that's programmed by a computer algorithm. It was not programmed to train on humans, all of us. So it did not recognize Black people as people and hit some of them. And so that is what happens when you just have white people sitting back there coding. And I don't think it's like done necessarily even intentionally, but that's a real consequence to not having a diverse voice in that room, to making sure that we're all having a perspective on that tool being creative.
Same thing with
That's great.
some soap dispensers in restrooms.
Yeah,
You know,
it wouldn't recognize us, right? Because yep. I was in an amazing building in Calgary yesterday. It was phenomenal. It was very industrial. And all I could think about was, if I was disabled, if I was in a wheelchair, I couldn't get up and watch this conference. I couldn't even get into the bathroom, but the way that they had it designed. But the architects that built that building were not thinking about all of us, right? They were just thinking about, I want a cool building that looks industrial. And so people get left out. And so, yeah, it can cause harm.
thank you so much.
Yes, thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. We'll see you at the next session.
Awesome job, Kate. Loved it.
Thank you, David.
Sorry about that. Yeah, and we will close this out, y'all. You might be really interested in the next session. We have a 9-year-old. Yesterday we had a 90-year-old, but Shara Ruffin is extraordinary. She's been a powerhouse here on LinkedIn. And she and her son, Jaden, who I've interviewed quite a bit, are coming up in the next room. So even if you got kids or no kids, this might be a time to have them come in here. Kate, amazing. And I just want everybody to know she has been extraordinary behind the scenes, helping to make this stuff happen, just like extraordinary. So this is happening because of her. So thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks,
here we
David.
go. It's going to close in 5, 4, 3, 2,